speed day. Hope everybody stayed safe. Wanted to share with you what ScalperIQ saw as we were going through today's high volatility session. We had a couple of really nice setups, and I want to share those with you today. This is a 250 volume chart. This is a fixed volume chart. If you're not familiar with what fixed volume charts are, linear bars give you a new bar every time a certain amount of time has passed. So a 1 minute time frame will give you a bar every 1 minute, 5 minute, etc. For fixed volume charts, very much like tick charts, every time 100 contracts, or in this case 250 contracts, are traded, a new bar is formed. So just gives you a little bit more kind of micro level detail of what's happening without having to feel like you're waiting for confirmation for a bar close on like a 5 minute chart. Just kind of gives you a deeper, more micro level view of the auction. So I'm going to show you what happens as we push off the bell here. I am playing this at about 500x speed so that we're not sitting here together all evening. So let's see how the open. So right off the open, you get aggressive selling, and you get this aggressive sell marker. This is on the 830 candles, so kind of not surprising that you're taking some of the overnight volume and then pushing down into an aggressive sell move. But sellers push here. They put in another sort of exhaustive high intensity sell zone right here, and then what happens right after it is you get a push out of it, a higher low, and then an aggressive flip into buying delta. This is a trade I would definitely take. I don't trade FOMC days live, so I didn't take this trade today, but this is a really nice setup. You're getting sellers who are exhausted and then buyers who are aggressively buying that exhaustion. So you're going to get a pretty strong push out of that zone. You struggle a little bit with this zone from the overnight session, and then you push further. And in case you needed extra confirmation, you get this pullback here. Sellers briefly try to take control. You see they don't even really get it over into the full pink color. They just pull back, and then buyers aggressively grab it again and push us all the way to new highs. So you're up here, and this is the first time that you're kind of starting to see sellers take a little bit of control here. Now, I would not recommend for most people to take these sell markers or the buy markers completely blindly. You're up here, you've made new highs. You can see that for the first time after we've had this big up move, that sellers are starting to try to take control. Buyers have pushed a new high, and now sellers are aggressively taking control again. So now it's kind of like, I know that there's some aggressive sellers here around 22,090, and I want to see what happens if they try to make another new high. So they don't make a new high, and they push again. So now you see that instead of pushing up this time on aggressive buying delta, sellers have gotten aggressive enough to sort of hold the delta down, and as you're trying to make a new high, you don't even get into high intensity. You don't roll that delta over to get a buy color. So this is a spot I would consider taking a short. Would probably put my stop 20 or 30 points above this area, and would be looking to take some profits at this area that they've held towards the bottom end of it of 60. So you do get a little rollover here. And at this point, it's about 11 a.m. So sellers are going to give us a push down here pretty soon. Kind of just chopping through the middle here. And then all the way down to this zone. So these zones, this is one of these times. This is printing pretty close to the low of the day. This is the zone right off the open that they pushed through. But they ended up holding almost exactly where the delta flipped from earlier. So keep an eye on those past flip markers as well as the zones to look for some sort of double confirmation there. So you get a nice move up, and then this is the actual announcement. So this is all happening very, very quickly. This is like in the span of these wild bars are in the span of about a minute. You do get sellers taking control sort of right after the announcement. I personally, like I said, don't trade FOMC days, so jumping in a minute and a half after the announcement is not really my flavor, but for some of you, you do get a nice signal here, and you do get a push of about 70 points off of that marker. Was honestly a little choppy, to be honest, a little lack of direction from both sides after the announcement, and really didn't start to move until the Fed chairman started speaking. And so now you're getting a very directional move to the downside. And you can see, you know, we didn't get a sort of an aggressive flip from selling to buying, but what you did get is sort of this tapering. So you can see we're in this bright pink sell color, and then you start to lose that. It goes to gray, and then buyers push. So on high volatility days, one of the things we've observed in backtesting with ScalperIQ is that you get much cleaner delta rotations when volume is high. It makes sense, you know, you're not chopping nearly as much, and when one side starts to lose control, they start to take profits. Sellers here decided to start to cover, buyers buying at the bottom of the range. So you get a push, pretty nice push here, you know, from this little flip right here. This is 913 all the way up to 70. You're getting about a 50-60 point move right there, as well as printing another zone right below this sell zone to give you a little bit of confirmation to say that moves at least temporarily over here and get a little pullback. And notice again that where we pulled back to is right where the delta flipped originally. So if you missed this move and you're like, I want to buy a pullback from somewhere in here, this would be an area that I would consider starting to look for, is around this 20 area where sellers lost control originally. Maybe they wanted to take profit, weren't fast enough to do so, and then are happy to have price come back to that spot and get out. So then you get another nice push out of there. You get up to some of these middle zones. You know, when you're sort of trading through them, you know, these zones are sitting in the middle of the session here. I wouldn't use those quite as much as I would as if we're coming from a distance to them, right? So like we've now gone from, you know, 21,900 all the way up to 2,200. You got a 100-point move. It's a nice place to take profit. You get another zone that prints on top of one of those middle zones to give you a little bit of extra confirmation, and then you sell off back towards the lows again. And another buy marker. This is another one of those nice examples of you don't have to step in front of it if you're using ScalperIQ. You know, you can wait to say, all right, sellers have control, we're going up, but they still haven't lost control. Okay, now they've lost control. I can control some of my risk, can take a nice entry here, and you get a push of about from like 60 up to 2204. So you're getting about a 35 to 40 point move depending on where your entry is. And that's the close right there. So this is what ScalperIQ saw. We got some really nice rotations today, some really nice signals. We would love to have you join beta. If you're an Edge Pro X or Motive Wave user, check out our website. It's free to join beta. You'll have free access to the tool all the way until fall when we have our first release. The only thing we ask is that you will join our Discord. You'll give us feedback, help us continue to shape this tool. Hope to talk to you guys again soon. Cheers.